Good evening. Welcome to Prep Huddle Live on StriveSports.com. Another Wednesday, Tony. And we are live here from my home studio, and Tony's in Grand Island as always. Tony, what's going on? We've got
mine's like the Wayne's World studio, like in the basement.
Yeah, I love the looks like you got some construction or some paint work going on.
We are in a little basement construction zone right now, working on some remodeling stuff. So
very cool. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in. We've got an exciting show, a first for us. We've got a guest, Ross Halford. I believe that's how you say his last name, right?
Mm-hmm,
Halford.
I think so.
From HuskerMat.com. He's got a huge following in Nebraska covering high school wrestling and is the expert when it comes to high school wrestling. And he's put out a preview. I believe, did he put that out yesterday? Kind of his predictions and preview for state wrestling as he tweeted today. We're on the eve of state wrestling as it gets fired up tomorrow in Omaha. So we'll have him on in about 10 or 15 minutes. We'll run through some rankings, talk some Shrine Bowl as the roster was announced for that this week, and a little bit more boys hoops maybe later on in the show. And also, as always, we are presented by Cornerstone Bank, great sponsor of ours. You can find them online at cornerstoneconnect.com. And please, we would love for you to use the hashtag PrepHuddleLIve tonight if you have questions for us or feedback, or also you can tweet at us at Strive Sports. Always great to hear who's watching, and would love to hear from some wrestling fans that are coming over, maybe watching the show for the first time, tuning in here. We appreciate that. And we'll go ahead and get right into the show, Tony. I think we're going to talk a little, go through the ratings this week. And we've got some girls sub-district action that started this week. We got a lot of posts up on the site as well with wrestling and features and just a lot of stuff going on this week. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's getting time to where not till about March 15th where our families know what we look like. So we apologize in advance to our wives and our children, I suppose. But it's a fun time of year. We can roll into. I wanted to, Taylor, just really quickly go through where we stand in basketball right now with girls sub-districts and boys in Class A and B heading into their last few games of the year. We'll do that real quickly, and then I want to get right into the wrestling because I think we could probably talk to Ross for 20 minutes or a half hour if he lets us, but we'll do our best to give state wrestling the preview it deserves. So real quickly, I'll just run through the boys' rankings, which is kind of backwards from what we usually do. But we'll go ahead, and Norfolk still is number one in Class A. Omaha South is number two. Of course, Omaha South was at the Heartland Hoops Classic against number one in the nation, Oak Hill Academy, and lost to them 59-54 in Grand Island. A great game there last weekend. We had some pictures up on our website from your trip over there, Taylor.
Yeah.
Millard West is still 8th in Class A. And then in Class B, we have both Aurora and Crete at 9th and 10th. Who are ranked, and in Class C2, we still have Southern Valley that sits in 3rd, and they will start sub-district play next week. And then in Class D1, we've had a few upsets there. High Plains got beat twice last week by Class C2 Cross County, and then by conference rival Brooding Davenport Shickley. So Clearwater Orchard is back to number 1. BDS jumped High Plains, and they are 2nd. High Plains is 3rd, and Heartland is still 5th. So as we get into sub-district play there, I know Heartland and BDS at 2nd and 5th are both in the same sub-district with 9th-ranked Deschler. So that sub-district over at Fillmore Central, again, will be one that we'll be keeping an eye on pretty closely.
Yeah.
And then in D2, we have Exeter Milligan is 3rd at 15 and 6. Excuse me. And Riverside beat Spalding Academy last week, and they jumped from 10th to 6th. They're at 15 and 7, and of course we talked about them last week on the show. They gave High Plains a pretty good scare there about 10 days ago, 44-41 game for Riverside there. So that briefly runs down the boys. Again, sub-district pairings in boys for C1 to D2 were just released, I believe, yesterday.
Yep.
And they will start sub-district play next week. The girls started sub-district play Monday and have played yesterday as well. And we have sub-district finals in all of class from C1 to D2 are all set for Thursday night. And I wanted to just run through those really quick, just our schools that are remaining in C1. We have Fairbury will play Wilbur Clay Tony in the C1-4. That'll be at Friend High School. Both of those schools are Strive schools. The winner will advance to play either Lincoln Christian, who I believe is number 3, or Malcolm in a district final there. Columbus Lakeview will play North Bend Central at Columbus High School tomorrow night. The winner of that one will play either Wahoo or Wahoo Newman. And Central City will play here in Grand Island at Northwest High School. They'll host Adams Central or play Adams Central with the winner getting the luxury of playing either number 1 Minden or number 2 Kearney Catholic. They will play in a sub-district final at Lexington tomorrow night. We'll have all the sub-district pairings posted up on our website in the morning, along with what we hope is potential radio broadcast. So you can just hop on that page and click on any radio broadcast to listen to those games. Class C2, we'll have Sutton, who we just featured in the rewind. They're 20-4. Will play Fillmore Central at Fairbury tomorrow night. That game will be a little bit later. It's a 7:30 tip. At York, we have Nebraska Christian against Shelby Rising City. So 4 schools there. So that'll probably be a district final that either one of us will go to, I would guess, Taylor, with all 4 schools being Strive schools there, that one of those teams will play to go to the state tournament in Lincoln.
Yeah, definitely.
Twin Rivers still alive. They will play Humphrey Lindsay Holy Family. They are 18-6 now. That game will be at Stanton High School. The winner of that game will get either Guardian Angels Central Catholic, who is number 2 in Class C2, or Oakland Craig. And let me see. I'm trying to see if we have any more. I don't think we have any more in C2. In D1, we have Friend. They will play Sterling, who I believe they just beat last week or about 10 days ago in the Pioneer Conference Final. And the winner of that game will get either BDS or Heartland. So we got a 3 out of 4 shot there. Another one we'll probably be watching very closely as far as state goes there. Friend 19-5 is the highest ranked of those 4 teams there. One of those 4 will get the state. Over in Stromsburg at Cross County High School, Fullerton will play Humphrey St. Francis. Fullerton is 20-3. Humphrey St. Francis is 20-4. 2 of St. Francis's losses have been to Fullerton in the regular season and in the Goldenrod Conference tournament. So that'll be a game that should be a pretty close game. I believe both those games are inside of 5 to 6 points. So in the D1-6 at Pierce, we have Creighton and Laurel Concord Coleridge, 2 Strive schools there. Creighton is 20-4. Laurel Concord Coleridge kind of pulled off an upset last night. They are 9-13. The winner of that game will get Emerson Hubbard or Pender. And I think that's it until we get all the way out to the D1-12 out of Nogallala, where number 1 Dundee County Stratton is 24-0, and they appear fairly focused on their way to Lincoln. They put up 81 points last night. They'll play Sutherland, who is 12-11, and if they win that, they would get the winner of Brady and Maxwell next week. In the D2 classes. In that first district, the D2-1 is Fall City Sacred Heart 23-2 against Strive School Johnson Brock, who is 10-10. And the winner there will get either Hampton, who is 19-3, or Meridian, who's 11-13. The Meridian upset Exeter Milligan last night 52-50. And so we have 3 Strive schools there out of the 4. So another district that we'll be watching closely there. And then I'm trying to see, we'll have at Boone Central High School, we have Spalding Academy. They were one of just 2 4 seeds that upset a 1 seed last night. They upset St. Edward. I don't know if it's really an upset. Spalding Academy's 8-11, and St. Edward was the number 1 seed in that district at 11-13. So Spalding Academy will play Osceola, who's 11-13, and then the winner of that game would likely get Giltner. Giltner will play Silver Lake tomorrow night at Wood River High School. And I think that does it for Strive girls schools who are still alive for a trip to the state tournament. Of course, we have Millard West and Omaha Central. Both of those girls' teams are still ranked. I don't know if anybody read Mike Patterson's story in the World Herald today, but Millard West looks like they might be without Marissa Lowe, possibly maybe just for one game of districts. It looks like a strain, a knee strain, so hopefully they're okay there. I'm trying to see here what Omaha Central, they're ranked 8th in Class A. And the other two, probably the third best player in the state, Maddie Simon from Lincoln Pius. They're watching her closely as well. Sprained an ankle pretty severely in practice, it sounds like. So on the girls' side, then in B2, York dropped from 5th to 9th. They had a 2-point loss, I believe, to Seward last week. So the Dukes dropped there, but I think they're still second.
Yeah, they're second in points. Yeah,
in the playoff points. So not much damage there. So I went as fast as I can because I'm want to get Ross on the phone here, and I think you'll want to take a break, and then we'll get going deep into the state wrestling tournament. We'll get started here, and hopefully we can steal Ross for as much time as he'll let us, and get a good preview of state wrestling here in a minute.
All right, just texted him. We will take a quick break. Again, as always, you're watching Prep Huddle Live here on StriveSports.com, presented by Cornerstone Bank. We'll tune to a commercial here and apologize if it repeats. We'll just get Ross in on via Skype, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, I get it. For the little things. Technology's great. It makes things easier. It's faster. We can get things done wherever we go. And we get all that from our bank. It works for us. But for the bigger things, the things that really count, I still want to talk to the people I know and trust. That's why I'm here. Yeah, I get it. For the little things. Technology's great. It makes things easier. It's faster. We can get things done wherever we go. And we get all that from our bank. It works for us. But for the bigger things, the things that really count, I still want to talk to the people I know and trust. That's why I'm here.
All right, and we are back here. Thanks again for tuning in to Prep Huddle Live on StriveSports.com, presented by Cornerstone Bank, and we are happy to have a first-time guest on the show tonight, Ross Halford with HuskerMat.com. How's it going, Ross?
Oh, very well. As I was just telling you guys, this is information overload time for me. I'm just finishing up a few things and prep for the state tournament this weekend, and so 896 kids, and just trying to figure out who's going to win and who's going to win the team, and a lot of research goes into trying to figure out how this is all going to look on Saturday afternoon.
Excellent. Well, Ross, we've kind of been bantering back and forth, and I want to give our viewers just as much information on state wrestling as we can. As a self-proclaimed basketball geek, I still will contend that the state wrestling meet is probably the coolest event that the NSAA puts on every year. I've been fortunate enough to cover the state meet when I worked in Sutton at the Clay County News, and was Matt's side when Dirk Desmond became just a 5th four-time Nebraska champion. That was a really cool deal. And I also had the pleasure to cover Brett Allgood when he became a 4-time champion for Bennington when I lived in Omaha and worked at the newspaper in Elkhorn there. So the state wrestling meet, if you could in words in 45 seconds or a minute, can you just describe what a neat event it is where no matter big or small, you're there all in one arena, and just kind of describe what these next 3 days will be like in Omaha.
Well, I mean, it's really what sports are all about. I mean, there's winners, there's losers. I think with our sports, maybe more so than any other, there's so much glory that goes into to this, to be a decorated high school wrestler. So much of it is based on your own individual talents. It's a very intense sport, and that transfers from the coaching to the kids that compete. And at the end of the tournament, when you have just 56 wrestlers out of approximately 4,500 that start the year that compete in this sport, there's 56 kids that are left at the top of the medal stand, and that's it's a pretty amazing feat when you can survive that. This is really a culmination of a lot of hard work that comes from not only the season, but most of these kids compete year-round in the sport, and again, this is really what it's all about as it comes down to the last few days here in February.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to just kind of jump right in, and since we're a little light in Class A, I'll kind of just run through this just like the event will go tomorrow. A and D will be in the morning, basically the morning session. Their first round and quarterfinals will probably last till, would you say, about 3 or 3:30? Is that pretty fair? And then B and C will get going about 4:30. Do I have my times right there for estimated amount? Is that about right?
Well, with the format change that they introduced a few years ago, instead of just 8 mats for the first 2 rounds, they run 10 mats, and
right.
Once that first round gets over, it goes right into the quarterfinals, and with they continue to use 10 mats onto there, it sometimes becomes very difficult to follow everything. I call it the lightning round, and so I would suspect that they would be done with the A and D quarterfinals probably around 1:30 or so. As well, it does go a lot faster than it used to. So,
well, let's dig into Class D. We've got a good amount of wrestlers in Class D. We have 132 Strive wrestlers total. I'll let you, Ross, just kind of tell kind of people where you have kids ranked and things of that nature, and I'll kind of maybe just throw some at you who, based on your projections, you've got either winning or maybe advancing to the finals, and you can maybe just touch on them a little bit. The first two I'll throw at you are at 120. You've got Tyson Fate from High Plains, I believe, as a projected champion, and Jaden Elge, who's undefeated at 33-0 from Nebraska Christian. Would you maybe want to touch on those two wrestlers a little bit, if you could?
Sure. Well, Tyson Fate, I happen to have a pretty good rapport with the High Plains community out of Clarks, and Tyson Fate, a bit of a surprise last year as a sophomore, actually reached the state finals, and so he's back as a district champion this year. But I'll tell you, that first round match that he has against Michiel, Dylan Michiel actually beat Tyson Fate earlier in the year, and Michiel had one of those bad, maybe tough, districts to get through, ended up 4th, and so, yeah, I think Tyson Fate can certainly win a state title there, but this is one of those cases where, he could be on the backside of the bracket here in a hurry. There's no question about that. And certainly with Jaden Elge from Nebraska Christian, you're talking about one of the elite sophomores in the state of Nebraska right now, certainly unbeaten. He finished 4th a year ago. As a freshman at a pretty tough weight. And this year he's just taken it to a whole different level. Owns up a real solid victory over one of Class B's top 138s, and owns 2 wins over Drew Loberg out of Randolph this year, and he's beaten Loberg, who again is probably his top competition. He's beaten him twice pretty handily. So, talking about one of the a definite favorite at that weight in Class D.
We move on down into the heavier weights at 152. Zamua Baptista from Friend at 35-1. You have as a projected champion, and then at 170, 2 Strive wrestlers you have projected into the final. There you have Patrick Dempsey as a finalist with Garrett Sonderup of Fullerton, who we watched plenty on the gridiron this fall and have a great relationship with Garrett. So that might maybe be the next 3 wrestlers I'd maybe have you discuss as we move into the upper weights there.
Well, Baptista, he's such an elite talent, especially at Class D. He's so athletic, and of course, he is a returning state champion. He has the one loss, and that is to Devin Dibburn out of Amherst, and I would expect nothing else than a state finals rematch between those two. It's one of those things where I probably motivate Dibburn a little bit, but it was a 1-0 score. It was at the Amherst invite early in the year, and I just don't believe that Baptista will lose again in the state finals. He's an elite talent. I mean, he has the ability to wrestle at the highest level of college, meaning he has some Division I talent, and he's just a junior. And certainly with his teammate Patrick Dempsey, kind of what I refer to as a journeyman. He seems like he's been around forever, and he has not he missed out on that elusive state title before, but he just seems so focused this year. And the Sondrup kid from Fullerton actually reached the state finals a year ago. Those two met in the D1 district finals. It was a close match. It looks like Sondrup is starting to get his wind back. He's missed a lot of the season with some injuries that carried over from football, and that'd be a fantastic state finals match should those two meet each other again on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, and then our last one there that you've got as a projected champion from Meridian, Brandon Jackson at 37-1. I'd have you just discuss him, and then I guess can anybody challenge Amherst in the team race? They appear to be a pretty solid favorite in Class D again.
Yeah, absolutely. Amherst is just a machine, and in terms of the level that they compete on for Class D. What are the schools that they compete against? They may only have 6 or 7 wrestlers on their entire team, and Amherst can bring 13 wrestlers down to the state tournament, and most of them can score big points. And so, again, a nice article from the Omaha paper, this week about Coach Herman and how he started the, kind of this run of success that they've had, and from what I understand, they have a great youth program as well, so I don't expect them to slow down, regardless of whether Coach Herman continues to be the leader of that program or not. But they've got so much talent in the program, and it's just so hard right now for the smaller Class D teams to compete with them. And you mentioned Brandon Jackson from Meridian. I think Meridian, it's maybe not a real big traditional power. They don't have a lot of numbers on their teams, but they certainly have produced some nice quality wrestlers the last few years. And I would have to look back at the history of Meridian to see if they've actually had a state champion before as well. But Brandon Jackson, I think he's a pretty significant favorite in Class D at 182. I really don't think that anybody in that weight will challenge him, and I think that he'll be on top of the medal stand on Saturday afternoon.
Very good. Excellent preview of Class D. Let's move on to Class A, where, again, we're, as I said, we're just a little bit lighter with just Omaha Central and Millard West as strive schools there. I would, I guess, point my attention, the one wrestler who you have for us advancing to the finals would be Colby Foster from Omaha Central, who is 33-3, and I know you have him running up against Edgar Silva from Grand Island in the finals. Maybe a few words on Colby, if you could, really quick.
Well, he's got a lot of offense. He's a little bit undersized for that weight class. He, of course, he has a brother, Corbin, who unfortunately had some injury problems and was not able to make it to Omaha because of those. So I think Colby will be extra motivated, probably will want to wrestle for his brother and do well. And I think he is a favorite on the bottom half of that bracket, certainly, as well. But, Edgar Silva then from Grand Island, you're talking about a wrestler that's actually made a big cut down from 220. And so really you kind of look at those two and you say, I wonder if the real difference here will be just a size difference. I'm sure Colby will try to get an advantage, with speed. But he's certainly going to give up some size and strength to Silva. So it'll be an interesting matchup should that come to fruition again on Saturday afternoon.
Another one that caught just my amateur eye is at 106. I believe Aaron Haynes from Omaha Central has been ranked most of the year, and based on the draw, it looks like he got paired up with Connor Lux, who I think he ended up at third in his district. Could that be an interesting first round match, you think, or?
Well, I certainly noted that because, as you mentioned, Aaron Haynes has been in the ratings most of the year as well. Locke's upset, I guess, if you want to call it that. He was 38-1, upset in the district semifinals by Adam Kinnaman out of Lincoln Southeast. So that pits them two rated wrestlers against each other. And anytime you see that, hey, that you never know what might happen. But I haven't had a chance to see Haynes wrestle this year, but I've been told that he is quite talented, and he'll have his hands full certainly against Locks, who I think should emerge from that side of the bracket back into the state finals. He has a tough road there, but we'll see what happens. It's wrestling, and that's why you step out on the mat. Anything can happen. So an interesting first-round match right off the bat tomorrow morning.
Yeah, and I guess just kind of handicap again the team race there. I know you've projected Millard South as champion, but I would think you would have Grand Island and Kearney right there close, possibly with some other schools. But your thoughts kind of on the team race and how that might go in Class A.
Well, Millard South has been my number one team all season, and I think when you put them in the dual format, they have solid wrestlers at every weight. In my detailed write-up that I'll put up on the website in probably just a few hours or so, I really had to look at the brackets and determine, how would the constellations. And a lot of these state titles, when the teams are close, it's going to be determined in the wrestle-backs as well. And I really think that this is such a razor-close, team race here. Millard South maybe 6 to 8 projected medalists, Kearney 6 to 7, and Grand Island 6 to 9. If things go right for them, they could end up with the most medalists in Class A. All those teams kind of around the same boat as far as top end talent. Maybe Grand Island and Millard South have a few more potential state champions than Kearney is projected to. But this thing will be very, very close. And I think kind of analyzing that earlier. Watch for pins, and especially in the wrestlebacks, because those bonus points are really, I think, will make the difference between state champion and whoever finishes second, third.
Excellent stuff there. Taylor, do you want to? I'm sorry, what happened there?
Yeah, you take a quick break here, and then we'll come back and do Class C and B?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. All right. As always, you guys can tweet at us at Strive Sports, hashtag PrepHuddleLIve, and also, I believe, Ross, it's at Husker Matt, correct?
That's right, huskermatt.com. And, yeah, the Twitter address is at huskermatt, correct.
All right. So we will take a quick 30-second break, hear from our sponsor, Cornerstone Bank, again, just to break this up, and be back for Class C and B previews with Ross Halford of huskermatt.com.
Yeah, I get it. For the little things. Technology's great. It makes things easier. It's faster. We can get things done wherever we go. And we get all that from our bank. It works for us. But for the bigger things, the things that really count, I still want to talk to the people I know and trust. That's why I'm here.
All right, and we're back here after the break here on Prep Huddle Live on StriveSports.com, and we'll turn it back over to Tony and Ross, and we'll dive in. Tony, do you want to tackle Class C or B first?
Yeah, I think we'll do Class C first, and okay. I think that'll be a fun class. We've got a lot of wrestlers there. Ross, actually think what I'll do is I'm going to skip past 126. We'll talk about Doyle last. but maybe start at 132. We've got Tyler Bailey from Sutton as you have as a projected champ, and actually wrestling looks like Jeremiah Dickinson from Central City in the finals. Maybe just a couple brief words on Tyler's obviously 42-0 and Jeremiah 37-3. So two excellent seasons going into state here.
Yeah, well, Tyler Bailey, he's a senior, and as you mentioned, he's unbeaten this year. He dealt with an injury problem towards the end of his sophomore year as well, and last year reached the state finals, and probably didn't wrestle up to his potential there, but he's had a great season this year. And when we talk about Doyle Trout, I'm down at 26. Tyler Bailey actually owns a season win over Doyle when Doyle moved up to 132 at the David City Invite Finals as well. But Jeremiah Dickinson gave him a great match last week in the C3 district finals. I believe it was a 1-point match, and Central City wrestles a very tough schedule. I know Dickinson has a great win over Cam Williams out of Lincoln Southwest in Class A, and so he's capable. And he'll have a tough quarterfinal match. The match against Chase Osborne, who I've had rated second all year, ahead of Dickinson. That will be a war in the Class C quarterfinals there. And I think if Dickinson can get by that one, I think that he'll be in good shape to move on to the finals and probably see Tyler Bailey out of Sutton.
Very good. I'll move up to at least at 145 and at 170. We've got a couple wrestlers from Madison, Caleb Haskell at 42-6 and Hunter Randalls at 38-6. You have both of those guys advancing to the finals. Maybe I sorry that I didn't write down who you had as projected champions there, but maybe a couple words on those two weight classes in Class C.
Well, 145 is absolutely loaded in Class C, and again, I absolutely love Caleb Haskell and the way that he wrestles. He's such a grinder. I sent out a tweet last week after watching him compete at districts, and he's just the epitome of a wrestler. You watch him, and that's really what our sport's about. He'll have a very, very tough first match here against Joseph Feldner out of Kearney Catholic. Now, I got a chance to see both of them wrestle at the High Plains Invite. They didn't wrestle each other, and so I'm not quite sure how that match is going to go. I picked Haskell to win that, but that match can go either way, and it's one of those things where you get by that first match, and you certainly have a shot, but you got to show up and be ready to go right away. And Hunter Randalls, when we talk about Madison tradition, there's so many kids on the bottom half of that bracket that could be in the state finals. David Fox out of O'Neill, a prohibited favorite from the top half of that weight. He's a returning champion. But I just like the way that Randalls wrestles, and I kind of look at tradition and say, I've seen these Madison kids before in these positions, and they always rise to the occasion. And I think Hunter Randalls, being a senior, I think he'll put it together this weekend, and I do like his chances to make the finals on the bottom half of 170 Class C.
You talk about a sparring partner, a wrestling partner in the weight room for at the team level. I wanted to move up to the heavyweights there. Fillmore Central has Trevor Adams at 220 and Jared Hendricks at 285, who probably spend a lot of time together in practice at a combined 94-1. I know you have Jared as a projected champion, but what have you seen out of those two Fillmore Central wrestlers this year?
Well, very decorated. Of course, you see the records that they have, and these kids have been around. Obviously, they've been down to state, both being seniors. I believe there was one year where Trevor Adams had a really tough district and didn't make it, but and you're also thinking about a couple kids that have paid their dues. Jared Heinrichs had to wait his turn to get into the Fillmore Central lineup as well. But I think with Jared Heinrichs, you're really looking at the second best heavyweight in the state this year in all classes, behind Matt Clark out of Syracuse, and certainly having great workout partners like Trevor Adams. Certainly helps you. As I was looking at the 182 and 195, a lot of times you'll see state champions come in pairs from teams. You'll see one
Yep.
weight, they win one, another one, and it's not by accident that happens. You certainly need great workout partners, but I'll tell you, Heinrichs, he'll have to show up this year. I think he'll admit from some of the things that I've read that he maybe wasn't as focused last year at the state tournament, and there are a few potential landmines in that weight. And I think if he wrestles to his potential, he'll be fine. But it will take some focus for him to get that quote elusive state championship.
Yeah. And, this is probably, I know, another great story in the Omaha World Herald this week about David City. I know you have them as projected champion and as they look to repeat, but this is a class that, as they said in that article, has seen 6 champions in the last 5 years. There was a shared championship in there. Is this the most wide open class of the 4, would you say?
I think Class A is probably a 3-team race, perhaps maybe 4. But Class C, I think this is a 3-team race, and just like last year, it's Valentine, it's O'Neill, and it's David City. And and again, I need to look at the brackets a little bit closer. I feel like David City has those top end points that can get them there, but it's not going to surprise me, with whatever happens. This could be a situation where 1 or 2 matches, where a team thinks that they should win, ultimately determines the outcome of the team title. So there's very little room for error with those teams. And again, I guess with David City, it's kind of a pick 'em, quite honestly. It wouldn't surprise me to see O'Neill or Valentine hoist a trophy up on Saturday.
And then I guess let's talk about Doyle Trout, 3-time champion, 42-3 this year. He'll wrestle at 126 this year, going for obviously his 4th straight title. We had 5 of those guys last year, and he's the only one that has a chance this year. I believe Rossi'd be the 25th ever 4-time champion, but if I'm doing the math right, 19 of those have come since 2000. So you can tell how much wrestling has grown, and kids are probably wrestling younger a lot more than they were, say, in the 70s, 80s, 90s. So it's probably going to become not as rare anymore. But talk about Doyle and his quest for 4 state titles at 126 in Class C from Centennial.
Well, I've been fortunate enough to have a good relationship with Doyle and his father, John Trout. We've been to the Ironman tournament in Ohio the last, I believe, 3 years as well. And so I know Doyle well, and he's, of course, signed with the University of Wyoming to continue his wrestling career. And just an outstanding wrestler, but a great kid as well, great student athlete, really a model for I think what the kids should be about. But talent wise, I mean he's as good as almost anybody in the United States at these weights. Now he was essentially up a weight class from where he probably should be. He's probably more of a natural 120, but he's moved up to 126 here. He's wrestled as high as 132 this year, as I mentioned with the Bailey match as well. But he's such a technician, and sometimes when you look at wrestling, without understanding all the nuances that go into it, Doyle Trout and his technique is just phenomenal for a high school wrestler, and that's why he's had so much success. On the national level, he's placed at the junior nationals. He nearly placed at the Super 32, about 160. Elite kids in his weight. So he's one of the best wrestlers to ever come out of the state of Nebraska, and I expect him to really be focused this weekend and take care of his business and get that 4th state title.
Good stuff. Let's jump into Class B. A little light for us in Class B in the lighter weights. I'll run through just a couple really quick. You've got Max Hughes from Syracuse, who's a freshman at 106 as a finalist against Van Schmidt from Scott And then Anthony Red from York, a senior at 126 at 42-4. You have him as a potential finalist against Joe Berg from West Point Beamer. If you might want to just give us a couple quick comments on Max and Anthony.
Well, Max Hughes is an elite freshman. He made my elite freshman list right near the top. He's got one loss to Joe Harrison out of Omaha Burke in Class A. He's got one loss to I believe Levi Bridgewater, and he later avenged that loss as well. So he's very experienced. He's been around the block. He's wrestled in a lot of national tournaments. His other loss was in the district finals last week to Andrew Nielsen. Nielsen and Schmidt on the other side of the bracket are 1 and 2. So respectable loss to Nielsen, and Max is just a gamer. I got a chance to see him at the Flatwater Fracas, and there's no quitting that kid. Great, he's got an excellent shot to reach the state finals. Anthony Red made the cut down to 126, and he's got a great shot. You're right, to be in the state finals against Joe Berg out of West Point Beamer. But Anthony Red, he's just all around solid wrestler, well coached by Chad Maddox out there at York. Does a great job with that program as well. He's a senior. He's experienced, and that's what you look for. You're looking at potential state finalists.
Yeah, 152 two-stripe wrestlers that you've got there. Brian Messersmith, who I think has been number one all year. You have him wrestling, possibly running up against Ty Schneider of Syracuse in the finals at 152. Maybe we want to talk about those two guys.
Well, interesting enough with the scheduling and the way that schools schedule these days, Brian Messersmith, who started the year and wrestled most of the year at 145, 152 in Class B was not a real deep weight class, and he made the move up to 152. I think that he thought his chances to repeat as a state champion were probably better at 152. He's very solid fundamentally. Again, just a great kid. Really, he'll wrestle at Hastings College next year, and they had commented to me that his character is why he got recruited to Hastings College. He's a great wrestler, but a better kid. And interesting enough, he's actually wrestled Ty Snyder this year. They met in the late January Raymond Central Invite Finals. It was or semifinals, I believe, and it was a 1-point match. Messersmith won that as well, and then Messersmith lost in the finals to Baptista, who we've talked about from Class D friend as well. So those two would be familiar with each other should they meet in the state finals, and both seniors. I think it'd be a great matchup and probably the best potential matchup out of 152B.
And then up to 182, despite his loss of districts, you still like Ty Johnson's chances from Grand Island Northwest, and watched him a lot on the football field as well, and a good athlete. And Ty at 41-3, I believe you have seeing Darren Sorensen from Nebraska City in the finals at 182. You talk about possibly that matchup, maybe.
Sure. I mean, Ty Johnson's just a solid fundamental wrestler, and it wasn't a big surprise to me. I think he was kind of due for a loss, and got beat by Karsten Runge out of Lakeview in the B3 district semifinals last week. But I think he'll refocus, and I think he'll have a great state tournament as well. And Darren Sorensen, he's an interesting story. He's at 182 this year. Last year he wrestled 145, so wow. He really hit the weights in the off season. That's as big of a weight jump as you'll actually see. But I think he's found a home up at 182. I think that he was in the lower weights there. He was a good wrestler, but he's just really taken this to a whole different level this year. And I believe Ty Johnson. I believe they've seen each other this year. I have to double check that, but or maybe not. But I believe Ty Johnson maybe beat Darren Sorensen early in in the season. I believe they did wrestle a winter teams duel at the Flatwater Fracas, and I believe that Johnson won that match. So
gotcha. And then I guess maybe not, but did I save the best for last? Let's talk about the career that Matt Clark has had, and kind of the national attention he's getting. I believe he's closing in on a pin record, or maybe he's got it. You probably have a little more detail on that than I do. Maybe we could talk about Matt's season and career, really.
Well, I think again, really, and it's interesting. All these kids, nowadays, with the Twitter, and you have access to the kids, from a media perspective here, and you really do, get to learn about a lot of these kids. And I think a common theme with a lot of the wrestlers that we're talking about today is what great kids that they are. And I know I call Matt Clark a kid. He's 6'6" and 285. But what an outstanding student athlete. And I can just sit and watch him, and he's not competing, but he's always cheering on his team. And what a leader that kid is. I think the best thing you can say about him is just what character that he has. But on the mat, just a devastating wrestler. One of the most dominant big men that we've ever seen in the state. I believe he has 69 consecutive pins, which would be second all-time on the all-time national high school record. There was a wrestler out of Montana that, believe it or not, had 101 straight pins. But you're talking about records in Nebraska that will probably stand this test of time. It's so difficult in our sport to get pins, and for him to do what he's done over the course of the last 2.5 years is just phenomenal. And people will talk about Matt Clark. They will talk about him for a long time because of his career on the mat. And this will be the kind of the last swan song for him, because he'll play football, I believe, up in South Dakota going forward here. But I tell you what a competitor, and what a great individual Matt Clark is.
I guess handicap to the team race in Class B. I know there's a little news out of Omaha Scott this week that's been in the news, and you can talk about that or not talk about it. Doesn't really bother me either way. But does anybody have a chance to dethrone Scott as a champion in B?
Well, this is not a great year for Class B in terms of elite level individual talent and overall team strength. Class B graduated a lot of really, really good wrestlers a year ago, and so it's a little bit of a rebuilding year for Class B. With Omaha Scott, really the only comment that I have is that I am told that two of their top-rated wrestlers will not compete in the state tournament. Sure, I guess we'll never really know until the weigh-ins tomorrow for sure, but that's what I'm told. I still think, though, even without those, this is a testament to how good Omaha Scott is, that you could potentially take 50 points out of their state tournament scoring, and I still think that they'll win somewhat comfortable. I mean, they have potential champions at 106, 113. The 120 is a returning state champion, and they'll certainly be counted on to place. 132 could be in the state finals, and then 152 has got a chance to place as well. And they do have some kids in the upper weight that can do some things for them. So again, a testament to how strong of a program that they are, that they could overcome a loss like that, and still, I think bring home yet another state title here again fairly comfortably.
Ross, great stuff. Well, I just wanted to end it with just a couple more quick things. We've obviously focused a lot on Strive wrestlers. I guess maybe give people 2 or 3 guys, not in any particular class or any particular weight division that are really really talented, that could be maybe an underclassman who'd be a potential 4-time champ, or just some other types of guys that you're looking forward to seeing at state this week.
Well, as far as 4-timers go, I think you have 2 in the two sophomores in the state that PrepHuddleLIVE, actually three. You have Corbin Mink out of Omaha, Scott at 113, and he's phenomenal. Just a great wrestler. You also have his teammate Jeff Hines at 120, who will have a tougher road to try to get a second state title. And then another 113 in Class C is Christian Miller out of Plainview. He'll look for his second title, and he'll be a pretty heavy favorite in that weight bracket as well. As far as elite talent, if you're down at the state tournament, 138 Class A, Isaac Deloa, also on a quest for 4 state titles. He's a junior this year, so he is a significant favorite at that weight. He, up until the district tournament this week, he had pinned every wrestler that he had faced this year, and had only been out of the first period, I believe, 2 times. He's 45-0, and you have to watch him fast, because usually his pins usually happen in a matter of seconds.
Wow.
He's very talented. I would be surprised if he spends more than 2 minutes total on the mat this weekend. So you have to kind of watch him quick. He's very good. 170 as well. Grand Island, Billy Thompson. He's outstanding. He'll wrestle at Hastings College next year. And he has a potential semifinal match against returning state champion Markel Vaughn out of Omaha North.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, I mean, there's quite a few wrestlers as well going for their third state title. Jason Hansen out of Takema Herman at 120 in Class C, off the top of my head there. So
excellent. Taylor, go ahead, and I think you want to wrap it up with Ross.
Yeah, thank you, Ross. There is a reason why you have nearly 4,500 followers on Twitter, man. You very knowledgeable, and really appreciate your time taken out of your really busy schedule on the eve of state wrestling. So thank you so much, and just want to give you an opportunity here for a little bit to share more about your site and your what you provide as the wrestling source for high school wrestling in the state of Nebraska, and just share a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure. And I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and promote our sport and talk about the kids and what's going on this weekend. But just, the short and sweet background. Husker Mat was kind of an idea that hatched in 1999. So this is the 15th year that I've done this.
Wow.
And I've actually been around the sport pretty much all my life.
Cool.
I wrestled as a youth all the way through grade school up through high school, and I always tell people I was an okay wrestler. I made it to state 3 times, and I didn't get a state medal, but I was always probably a better analyst. I was always more worried about who I was going to compete against. So this was kind of a natural fit for me, to do what I do here. And really, so many things have changed over the course of years with the technology that we have available. And a lot of what I do on the site, I do have a paid side of the website. I call it more of a donation. And a lot of what I do is just analysis based. It's not just, ratings. It's here's what I think will happen. Here's kind of some things to watch. We do a lot of weekly previews where we look forward to things across the state. As well, we do a lot of prediction type of things. We do lots of preseason information that we release out, and so it certainly keeps you busy trying to cover everything. But the technology certainly helps out with that now, where we have access to a lot more information than we used to have. So it's very rewarding, and I certainly enjoy all the fans and getting to know the wrestlers and the coaches, and certainly I always look forward to this time of the year. It's kind of the culmination. It's kind of the culmination of a season worth of work, and so hopefully in a few hours or so I'll post up kind of the last swan song of the year. There'll be a few more features that come out post-tournament, but this is really just kind of the last big feature of the season, which is just kind of a detailed state tournament analysis. So.
Cool. And why don't you share with everyone what you'll be doing during the state tournament? Obviously be tweeting, or you posting stuff on your site, or?
Yeah, essentially, all my coverage now will be Twitter-based. Again, a lot of the technology and the things that we used to do radio broadcasts or stream broadcasts, because that was the only game in town at the time. And now you have different other avenues. I mean, you can watch the live video stream on any mat that you want to now with the technology. And that's fine with me, because that gives me more of an opportunity to watch everything. And my coverage will be Twitter-based, just keeping people up to date on what the big matches are, and it's really a lot of fun. Last year was really interesting for the state tournament. Eventually you get to the point with your Twitter where you don't necessarily know everyone that follows you, and I think last year I picked up almost 500 new followers during the state tournament. So
that's awesome.
So that 4,300 or 4,400 now, I would guess that would be 5,000, and that would be a huge milestone for me, because it just means that we have a significant following across the state with wrestling. So.
All right. Well, we look forward to following it on Twitter. And again, you could follow Husker Matt at Husker Matt on Twitter and huskermatt.com. Again, thank you, Ross. Can't thank you enough. And I'm going to actually be up there on Saturday, so hopefully we can connect. And we'll look forward to the state tournament kicking off tomorrow. Thanks.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me on.
You bet. See ya.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, I got to readjust your video here, Tony. Go ahead and talk about information overload. He wasn't kidding, right? Can you imagine what he's got to try to put onto his site is unreal, to be honest.
Yeah, and his brain must be like 5 times, 20 times bigger than anything I've got in my head, because he stores a lot of stuff in there. So
yeah, to rattle off those guys and know. And just so everyone knows, we sent him a list of that from the post Tony put together of all 132. But still, to have something to say about every one of those kids is truly amazing. So great resource, and look forward to having him on, and maybe even contribute on the site in the future. So should be fun.
That was great. So Taylor, what else we got?
Yeah, I think let's go ahead and save the rest. I mean, we've got boys basketball that we didn't really cover, but I'm okay. We're running way over time to go ahead and close things up. And tonight was to focus on wrestling. We're hitting about an hour here on, so we'll go ahead and if you got any closing thoughts, we'll close things down. I was just
gonna say we'll hit. Obviously, follow us on Twitter tomorrow. We'll be kind of following along with our wrestlers at the state meet, and we'll have a couple guys there helping us as well. And check our website out too as far as state wrestling goes. We got a nice story about the York program and Coach Maddox and what he's doing there, and a video we just put up about Doyle Trout going for his 4th state championship, and his wrestling partner in the wrestling room there at Centennial, Stephen Bader. It's a really neat story about 2 guys who are really good friends and kind of spurred each other along. And so that was fun to do. And then again, we've got all of our first round matches put up on the website. And then again, follow us on Twitter as well. And then we'll have sub-district volleyball. Probably we'll be sub-district basketball. We'll be tweeting out probably some stuff tomorrow night as well.
Yeah.
And we'll just get really busy with basketball and probably be heavy on basketball next week. We'll be able to, I think, if I'm doing the math right, we should be able to preview state girls basketball next week, at least in the small classes. I think we'll have all of the district finals.
Yeah, are those Tuesday night?
Yeah, I believe Monday and Tuesday. Okay. Those will all be wrapped up. So we'll have we'll have everybody at least I believe from C1 down to
Yeah.
D2, we should know kind of what those brackets are going to look like. So
Cool.
we'll be heavy in the basketball. Probably the next 3 weeks, I would guess, would be where that focus would go. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in here on Prep Huddle Live on StriveSports.com. Again, want to thank Frontrunner Fab. You saw their little promo down at the bottom of the Husker Map page when Ross was talking. Give those guys a call if you need new seating for your stadium, bleachers, portable bleachers. Great to work with. Several of our schools have used them and would love for your school to use those if you're in the market for that. And as always, Cornerstone Bank. Thanks for being a great sponsor here on Prep Huddle Live. So we will see you guys next week. The recording will be up here, about 9:30 probably, once I get it uploaded and on this page. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.